Okay, so now we're going to start talking about the causes of autism spectrum disorders, beginning first with the genetic influences. So evidence from twin studies and evidence for the genetic influence on ASD comes from the fact that concordance rate of ASD among identical twins has always been higher than the concordance rate of ASD among fraternal twins, which obviously suggests a genetic influence in the cause of ASD. Family studies and high heritability. It has also been shown that relatives to individuals with ASD are more likely to exhibit Asperger's, schizoaffective, and anxiety disorders. Researchers define heritability as a mathematical measure of a degree of genetic contribution to a disorder. Autistic disorder has been shown to have a calculated heritability of 90%, making it one of the most genetically determined disorders of the brain, according to heritability. So if we continue on, so what is the difference between heritability and concordance? Are they the same thing? The answer is no, they're not. However, it is important to note that this 90% heritability is equal to a mere 50% concordance rate among identical twins. So it's not necessarily what you think. So keep that in mind as well. Despite this rate, only 10 to 15% of ASD cases in the last 20 years have been associated with known genetic abnormalities, mostly Fragile X, which will be talked about later. A genetic disorder that causes a particular gene to deactivate, resulting in the production of new proteins that cause the expression of other genes. Fragile X causes deficits and changes in hormone levels, cell functioning, causes mutation, and neuron adhesion. Much of these changes serves as a risk factor for developing ASD. It's also been findings also show a higher rate of autism spectrum disorder or autism spectrum disorders in males compared to females. Interestingly, studies have shown that more boys are diagnosed with ASD than girls. The ratio is as high as 3 to 1. This high rate among boys suggests that the sex chromosomes of boys, the shorter Y chromosome, so boys have a Y and an X chromosome for their sex chromosome. I think it's the oh goodness, I can't remember, 23rd pair. It's the 23rd pair of chromosomes in the human genome. And of course the girls have 2 X chromosomes. Now the 2 X chromosomes are equal in size. The X and the Y for boys, the Y chromosome is much shorter than the X, so it's thought that boys are actually more susceptible to developing genetic disorders because there is a less amount of genes that can counteract any recessive traits on the X chromosome in boys. So if that makes sense, going back to biology class, so we're hitting math first and now biology class. But yeah, so that's the logic behind that. Going on to the conclusions that have been made by researchers. So despite this evidence for the role of genes in ASD, we cannot forget about the evidence that exists for environmental factors, which is what I just talked about. Researchers currently believe that many different gene defects interact with environmental factors to cause ASD. More importantly, researchers have accepted the fact that there is no one autism gene that exists in the human genome.